Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll try to keep myself awake and keep you also awake for the next sessions. So I'll try my best to wrap up as soon as possible. I won't try to go into too many of details. But the topic that's given today is real-time analytics and surveillance. Why it is important? Why do we care for real-time analytics? Can we do post-analysis only and do away with it? Then what is required to have real-time analytics in place? And are there any metrics? Because we talk about implementation. How do we measure? Because what we can't measure, we can't improve. So what are some of the metrics that we can consider when we go ahead with implementations? So I'll try to keep it short around that. So, but before I go in, just a quick show of hands if you're already using some kind of AI analytics in your security operations. Anybody already using it? Is there anyone? Yeah, I see one hand. So I think there is a lot of scope for us. I hope today's session will push you towards a little bit more in terms of considering implementations and the necessity to implement those. Let me move. So this is the first paradigm shift that has happened in surveillance, right? From a traditional analysis, from passive CCTVs, setup, recording, something happens, you go back, check what has happened, and analyze the footage, etc. We know the problems that existed, and that's why we are here attending this session, to see, is there any better way to do things. Right? So I think during the panel discussion also I mentioned that typically surveillance is considered as a cost center. The time has come where we should no longer consider surveillance as a cost center, but consider it as an asset that you have, which gives you intelligence, because no matter somebody is watching or not, the cameras are always there. They are witness to everything that happens inside. If we can derive some intelligence out of that and put to use, it will improve, it will have a good impact on our businesses and our way of functioning in our processes. That's what we aim to do, and that's the paradigm shift that has happened initially, the first one. Why does real-time matter? Is it important to have real-time? So consider a scenario where somebody walks into a logistics facility or a high-secure area, and it takes 5 minutes. He goes undetected, just walks around undetected. And then somebody catches it and goes and intercepts him, etc. Do you consider it a delayed response, or is it a security threat? How do you perceive it is what matters. So if you consider it just a delayed response, fair enough. The way you deal with it is different. You consider it a security threat, then definitely the way you deal with it is different. So that's where it matters. Why real-time matters is the answer to that question is in terms of how we perceive that kind of an incident when it happens. So for critical, high-sensitive areas, definitely real-time is what matters. And what does power that real-time analysis, real-time alerts? There are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. It's like more like an orchestra as a conductor when you do, starting from the feed that comes from the camera to the process that happens in the analytics engines when you process that, get the data out, understand, then derive some intelligence, throw out the alerts, and when you see it on the command control screen or on your mobile phones, the alerts that come. So there is a lot of things that go in the back end. Yeah, everything has to work seamlessly. Otherwise, the real-time analytics do not happen. So there are a few challenges in that process, starting from the camera, which is the source of all the data that we get. So how good are our cameras? As I said initially during my panel discussion, we have built a system that can work and have intelligence even on the old analog cameras. But having said that, if you need to do number plate detection of vehicles, or if you need to do facial recognition, those are not good enough. If you just need to understand if there is a person coming in, it's good enough. Even analog cameras are good enough. We can detect intrusion detections, loitering detections, even on the analog cameras. So what you intend to do also depends on the type of cameras that we have. So it's not enough just to have better cameras, higher resolution, faster networks, etc. But all of that has to flow in an appropriate manner for the analytic engines to process that. So there is a lot of pre-process that goes on in terms of managing that feed that comes in, and the cost versus analysis. That's always there in everything in life, right? For example, how do you process? Do you process every frame? Because cameras give 60 frames, up to 60 frames per second. So do you process every frame? Do you skip some? How important is it for you? So these are the things that are dependent on the environment and our security level that we want to implement. Because if you want to process every frame that comes in, obviously the kind of GPU infrastructure that you need will be very high. Are we willing to put that cost. Technology is available, but how much of it we want to use is something that is left for us to decide. How much we want to implement. Do we process all the frames? I process every alternate frame, whatever it is. So these kind of decisions are to be taken in consultation with the end user finally. Network is also an important aspect. A lot of times people ask, can I use Wi-Fi cameras? Yeah, fair enough. Use Wi-Fi cameras if it's not that critical. If there is a packet loss, I lose 2-3 frames or 2-3 seconds of data. Can I process? Can I understand? For example, virtual fence. Like we spoke about drawing a line for a virtual fence, and if anybody crosses that line, you trigger an event. What happens in 2 frames that guy crossed? He was running. In 2 frames, that guy crossed that line, and the system missed those 2 frames, and I can't detect it. So is it a fault of the system itself? So it's the network that needs to be aligned also. Now you can't have Wi-Fi cameras, etc. Better have wide networks. Obviously for security reasons as well. Wi-Fi is easier to penetrate than a wide connection because it's tougher to penetrate. So there are multiple ways, multiple things to consider. But starting from camera to your network to the analytic engines that we run on the GPUs, etc. All of that play a critical role, not just the software that processes it. And at DURANC, I'm proud to say that we have refined this process and optimized it for better results. Now, when we think of real-time analytics, this is the side effect of it. So you have too many alerts that come in. And what happens because of this? There is a Gartner report actually that says that 80% of these alerts that come in are not responded to, are not acted upon. Why is that? Is it because the alert was missed? No, the alert was there. But it's because the guy who is monitoring it is conditioned to ignore it. Because the moment you get too many alerts, you typically ignore it. Like for example, let me take an example that is easier for us to understand. Each of us, I'm sure, will get hundreds of mails a day. And there are a lot of spam mails. Right? So when we try to delete in the inbox, I select 2, 3, 4, shift, then select, you delete it. There is an important customer mail in between, we lose it. I am guilty of it. I lost a couple of mails and I said, can you resend it? I never got that mail. And he says, no, I sent it 2 days back. You have not responded. Ask him to resend. Yeah, I realized, yes, it was. And it was there in my deleted box. Why is that? Because my mind is conditioned just simply to select 5, delete. So if you are guilty of it, you will understand this more. So how do we ensure that the guys are not overwhelmed with lot of alerts? So we build a kind of workflows also in the system. So one thing is creating an alert, triggering it, sending it to the appropriate guy. Other thing is, can we build another workflow or a layer which can prioritize those incidents? What is important to look at? Because everything can't be at the same priority. Guy who is breaching at the perimeter versus guy who is closer, breaching entry of your premises, for example, both are not at the same level. Let's say 11 o'clock something happens, main gate. I'm not saying that's not important. You should get it, but you prioritize this more. Or you say that after the first breach, within 2 minutes, if there is a breach here, it's an immediate escalation. So you build a workflow around it, not just one event, but a couple of events. You comb them together and say that when these 2-3 things happen at the same time or within this interval period, then you give it a different priority level and process it further. So that is where it helps in terms of avoiding this deluge of all these incidents that come. The other thing is when we say real time, typically we speak of, there are 3 parameters. The first parameter is the speed. So real time typically is about speed. How quickly we act, how quickly we get that event, incident. Speed is one thing, obviously. The other 2 things are the context. I think I gave an example in the morning, for example. Crowding is an important event in an emergency area in a hospital, for example, or even in college environments or university environments, etc., where if you see a lot of crowd gathering in some places, sensitive areas, you want to be notified. But is it happening because there is a sports event that your institution is conducting? So who gives that context? That context is given by the human being. The context is not there with the system. System will flag that event and come in, but then the human being is the one that provides that context. And over a period of time, as I said, the system also will learn because we give that context as well. So the context and the adaptability of the system, which is able to take that contextual input from the user and incorporate that into the system and make it better, is what is important. So all 3 need to work together. So end of the day, the system should reduce the noise. Smart systems basically are not just fast, they're selective. They decide what not to flag also. That's very important. What to flag, yes, it is there, but what not to flag is also as important as that. So this is basically to give you an idea of when an event comes in the command control center, you are not doing 24/7 eyeball monitoring anymore. That's the idea of implementing AI, right? Otherwise, we have our screens, all the cameras come in. One thing is you have connected all your cameras across multiple campuses or locations. You can keep monitoring all of them. But as I mentioned, after 20 minutes, our ability to focus goes away. So the AI helps in terms of flagging incidents. When that incident happens, how easy or how quickly you can get to that particular camera in which that event happened. So our system actually immediately not only flags the event with the image, but also brings up that camera view live automatically so that you can immediately see what's going on there or what happened there. Then the second option is also the tracking of these events, as I was mentioning. So what is important is not just that events got triggered by the system, but what was the action taken by whoever is monitoring, or is responsible for monitoring these events. Whether that is also getting tracked or not is important. And our system enables that. Where the event got triggered at so-and-so time, the incident got triggered, it came up into the command control center. At what time was a response taken for that incident is also gets logged in the system. There's an option where you can say this is what it is. And there is an option also to escalate it for further review by a superior officer or whoever needs to review it. So there is a way to escalate it. There is a way to say this is a false alarm. So all of that gets into a feedback loop into the system, tracks what the security officer is doing in that, what is the action taken, and when it was actually closed. So all of that gets tracked in the platform. I mentioned now basically what are the metrics as we go ahead, move forward with implementations. What are the few things that we can look at? As initial, this is not the entire exhaustive list of metrics, but just to give an idea of what we should look at when we implement it for the success criteria of the system that we are implementing. The first thing is the latency, which talks about real time basically. From glass to glass is what I would like to say. From the glass of the camera lens to the TV screen where you're monitoring. How long it took for us to be able to get that alert notified here, whether it is on the command center screen or onto your mobile phones, how quickly it is. So that's the latency that we can measure. The accuracy of the AI model itself, there are a lot of models. I don't want to get into details of technical details, but typically there are two things. Precision and recall is what we call in the AI parlance. So precision is basically, think of it as a quality. How good is the alert that's coming in? Is it true alert or not? So that's precision. Identify it as quality. Recall is basically identified as a quantity. How many of it are you able to pick up? If 10 things happened, are you able to pick up all 10 or not? So that's the recall. So quantity and quality is how you can roughly relate in non-technical terms. So these are important to measure. So how many of real incidents we missed, how many of false incidents we got, all of that also can be measured in the system, need to be. And then the operator efficiency, wherein I said, what is the action taken, etc. How many tickets is somebody able to handle? This, will determine how much staff you should have in your SOC. Whether it is like sir was saying, we have 3 people dedicated. So it depends on how many alerts that you are getting, how many one is able to handle, because not every incident can be immediately responded to within a matter of seconds. Maybe you need to talk to that location guy. You're doing a centralized operations. You have operations across multiple locations. You call them up, figure out what's happened. So it takes some time to close it. So depending on your SOPs, your processes, it may take some time. You determine what is appropriate for you and say that measure the operator efficiency overall. And obviously the system uptime, which is standard for anything. So these are good to start with in terms of what you measure when you implement analytics. And definitely ethical governance is important when we implement AI. What is it able to do? Can we understand what are the alerts that are throwing? Explainable AI is very important. When I say explainable AI, I'll give an example. Instead of just showing, typically you would have seen AI, you'll have red boxes around something, whether it is vehicle, person, whatever. So it's not just about having a red box there, it's about having that context also. Why is it that you got that red box is what the AI system should say. Like for example, this guy was there for about 5 minutes just around this area in front of the door and near the door, that's why I'm flagging it. So that kind of a context, if the system can give, not just with a red box, is what we call explainable AI. So it should we should build around that. And data privacy, definitely yes. Retention policies, each organization will have your own policies in terms of retaining of the actual footage versus the incident footage. Both are treated differently. So you will have those policies. Role-based access control, it's touched upon earlier by earlier speakers also. See, if I am a local guard, I need to see what are the alerts in my premises or in my area. I don't need to know what's happening in other premises. So what the local guard is able to see, what he will have access to, needs to be defined. Just as an example. So overall, in your user base, who will have access to what? Whether he will have access to live view, whether he'll have access to recordings, whether he will have access to the configurations of the cameras. For example, what you configured, what analytics are configured on each camera, does he need to know or not? So these are important aspects to determine when you implement AI. Who will have access to what, to do what in the system? That's pretty important. And the last one is in terms of the system itself to eliminate the biases. Typically, misjudging happens because when you train the models, you will have a lot of data of men rather than women. So there are misjudgment when it comes to women, for example, because a lot of data is of men. We train with facial recognition, whether it is facial recognition, person detection, etc. Those biases, it's for the systems like us. We keep trying to audit all our data models to ensure that there is less and less bias that goes on into the system. So overall, when we go ahead with this implementation, the new SOCs that come up, the security operations centers, will be a collaboration between the AI and the human beings. As I said, it's more of a collaborator. It's a co-pilot model, wherein the human is there, who is the actual pilot. The AI is the co-pilot that's running the plane. When the plane is flying, all is good. The human is there just to see that everything is going okay. But when something happens, it's in the control of the actual pilot. So that's how the AI needs to be. It's a co-pilot model. The human is still in charge. The AI is there just to help him to ensure there is a focus. So AI helps us in focusing our energies on what we do best, which is judgment, understanding of the context. AI does what it does best, which is the speed and the scale that it can process and provide us the alerts. So that's the hand-in-hand approach that will happen as we move towards implementations with this SOCs. Just a quick summary of overall what we spoke about is from the data that comes from the cameras, you have both the human eye as well as the AI that's processing that data that's coming in, the visual or an audio data that comes in. Post real-time notifications with what is the action to be taken, and sometimes you automate those actions to be taken also, whether it is, for example, opening of a boom barrier when it's a registered vehicle, opening of an electromagnetic door for authorized entry, whether it is sounding of a hooter alarm or switching on floodlights when there is an intrusion detection, or giving an audio alert that, this is secure area, move away, whatever way that we want to keep that action. So those actions, some of them can be automated. So what is the action to be taken? What is the automation that we can do for those actions? And then obviously having the record for analysis, for also future analysis and trend analysis of typically what type of incidents are happening more in our premises, in our campus, in our organization, what times are they happening more, is there any structure to it, any pattern to it, because computers are good at recognizing patterns. So we can do that analysis of patterns and identifying what's going on there. And a lot of use cases around multiple of these impact that the system can provide us. For example, risk management in a construction industry, whether people are wearing the required safety helmets, for example, or not. Even in the manufacturing scenario, whether they are wearing that or not. So that's from a risk management perspective. Then ensuring compliance also is an important aspect which AI can determine. Resource optimization, see whether you need more people on the floor in a retail scenario, for example, you need more people on the floor, or you need more people opening or guarding the counters, depending on how your queue lanes are, for example. So it helps in resource optimization. SOP adherence to ensure that, let's say, for example, nothing is blocking in your fire exits, or there is no vehicle parked in a no parking zone, or loading bays, nobody is obstructing the loading or unloading bays, etc. So a lot of these impactful things can happen with the implementation of AI. So I think that's pretty much the summary. I think I'm done on time, I guess. So probably just one thought I would like to leave with. this is my favorite. I love Abraham Lincoln. So I typically end with this quote. And I would say that we are trying to build that future in DURANC, and I would encourage all of you to be part of that journey of building that future as we drive it. And leave you with the thought of look at your processes, look at your security operations, see what is that 1% that you would like to change or you would like to implement through AI. So think of that scenario. If you would like to share it, please scan that. You can give me feedback on that. And I would appreciate any thoughts from your side. Thank you.